welcome to the Well Child Show. Speaking about teaching work, to actually start teaching your children. Then, hello and welcome to the Well Child Show. Hello and welcome to the Well Child Show.
Hello and welcome to the World Child Show, brought to you by Global Child Health and Safety Initiative. Today, as always, we'll be having very important and very salient issues to talk about. COVID-19 is still an important issue for all of us in Nigeria and globally. As you all know, the way that we live normally has totally been disrupted because COVID-19 has completely changed the way that we live. And for parents, you and I both know that it is even a double-edged sword in the sense that we're trying to find our daily bread to feed our families, and on the other hand, we're trying to make sure that our children are safe. It's no news also that the federal government recently announced that schools will remain locked until further notice. As a matter of fact, young children that are supposed to write their WAEC exams have been asked to sit back and continue staying safe. These are some of the issues we need to talk about because we wonder how parents are going to continue coping with the several challenges and myriad of issues that they have to face on a daily basis. Joining me on the show today is an important guest that will help tackle this issue. But before we do that, we'll go on a short break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Well Child Show, brought to you by Global Child Health and Safety Initiative. I am your regular host, Claire Henshaw. I know you have missed me because it's been a great while. Well, we're back today, and the topic we'll be dissecting today will be positively engaging children at home during the COVID-19 lockdown. It's been 4 months and going on to 5 months now, and we know COVID-19 is still a major issue for many of us globally and even in Nigeria. And so we want to help parents understand some of the ways they can positively engage their children when they are at home, and of course when parents have gone out to work to find their daily bread. To talk about this issue with me today is a very good friend of mine, a friend that I hold in high esteem because of the important work that she does with children. Her name is Dolapo Ositoyin. Dolapo is the founder of Dolly Children Foundation. Dolly Children Foundation is a non-profit focused on inspiring the African child to adopt 21st century skills through education, capacity building, and advocacy. And an important part of the work that they do is to ensure that young children in vulnerable communities get the support that they need to thrive. And Dolly Children Foundation has impacted over 8,000 lives across Lagos State and Ogun State, and that is a big feat for an organization that works with children. We all know that working with children can be extremely difficult and time-consuming, and even more importantly, patience is an important aspect of how we can address and work with children. Considering all these issues, Dolapo will be sharing insights on what they have been able to achieve during the COVID-19 lockdown for the children within their immediate community that benefit from their programs. Hello, Dolapo. It's nice to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much.
How have you been?
I'm fine.
And I know getting here was a bit hectic because of the traffic.
Yes.
I hope you feel relaxed now because
Yes.
we have a myriad of questions for you to tackle today.
Yes.
So thank you for being on the show.
Thank
So my first question would be, even though I have basically summarized what you do at Dolly Children's Foundation, I want you to basically just briefly give us a quick idea of the programs that you run in your foundation.
Okay, thank you for having me here. And in Dolly Children Foundation, what we try to do is to help children that are out of school and also at the verge of dropping out of schools in marginalized communities, I mean low-income communities, to help them get access back to school. And so through our intervention, we've been able to do that through education, capacity building, and advocacy. So all our programs like free summer program, after-school program, reading club, back-to-school initiative, even exchange programs, and school refurbishment project that we do, and teachers training, are all tailored in raising holistic children that are in low-income community and give them access back to school. Yes.
Thank you so much. I think you do amazing work.
Thank
and
you.
one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show is that this is the second time I'm having an interview with you.
Yes.
And there were a number of issues that you touched on regarding, child education, child safety, and all of that.
Yes.
But before we dive deep into this topic, which is positively engaging children at home, you and I both know that 4 months is a long time for children to be at home without, attending the 4 walls of the classroom.
Yes.
We also know that the government has, as I think last week, the government mentioned that schools will remain locked indefinitely.
Yes.
So, in line with the programs that you run at Dolly Children's Foundation, and the fact that children are still at home and are not planning to go back to school, what are some of the recurring challenges that you have noticed in the last 4 months that parents often face regarding their children?
Okay. Well, I'm going to say it like in I'm going to say it from 2 angles here.
Okay.
So for children that are in low-income communities that we work with, and during this COVID-19 lockdown, currently, we've tried to, visit them house to house to see that they are doing fine. We've done phone calls to check how they're doing. I remember one of them even telling me that, Hansi, I think I've started forgetting all what I've been taught in school. And it's also sad. And that's why I'm also saying it. It's very sad to hear that a good number of children in this low-income community, because of the fact that there was no monitoring and because of the pressure on the family that they can't afford the 3 square meal. I got some background information that a good number of them are getting pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, yes. Gotten pregnant. Some have been molested. Some have been abused, kind of, So it's the impact and the psychological effect is very, very huge on children. For adults, we speak about it, that, oh, this is how I feel about this COVID-19. But for children, it's not all of them that are allowed, to talk about it. So now for the second aspect I said I want to talk about, and that's the impacts, like our children catching up at home, right? Yes. A good number of children that I know of, and my team as well, are catching up via online learning. Although some of them, because we actually did a documentary on both the one in low income and the one that, and they said, well, the only thing they miss is that, okay, they don't have to wear their uniform, but they still miss like school bus time. They only have to stay back at home. They've lost interaction, physical interaction. Their movement has been limited, and there was quite, and then, because even if they spend quality time to teach them, the time, internet and everything, lights, those are part of the challenges that they face.
So you've mentioned a whole lot of things, and I'm going to try to break them down one after the other.
Yes.
So, for example, you mentioned the fact that you had a small research that you did trying to differentiate children from low-income schools. And by low-income schools, you mean public schools and low-income private schools.
Yes.
And then the other set are those that are in slightly better schools, but they are private schools.
Yes.
Now, you agree with me that there's a lot of disparity when it comes to children from low-income schools and children from slightly better schools that are private schools, because I do know that some private schools are still not, at par with the very high ones that we have across the country. So what would you say is the major disparity between a child from a very low-income school and a child from an averagely better school? What are the core disparities?
Okay. Well, some of the core disparity between them is the fact that some are really losing out when it comes to access to internet.
Okay.
And access to electricity, because no child will be able to access online learning, the virtual one that is going currently right now, if they don't have enough data.
Absolutely.
And if they don't have light. Like, even if there is light and they have to use the phone, over a period of time the phone will go off, and so those are part of the core disparity. And then for the children in low income, because of our very close working experience with them, not all of them have learning materials to even catch up with at all. Not all of them.
Very true.
So, the ones in low income, the ones in private schools still went home with their textbooks. Still went home because, like my children, they're still catching up home. But these ones, they don't have textbooks that,
so
they can use to catch up with.
In the first place.
And then their parents too, for the low income, are very illiterate. So, even to say, okay, the books, and then I think it's a tradition in some public schools that we've worked with that the children are not allowed to take most of their books home. because they don't want them to mess up with them. So all these things, majority of them have them back in school.
And the painful thing is that the critical mass, the number of children we have in these low-income schools are far much more than those that we have in private schools.
Yes.
So my next question is this: how then do we bridge this gap for the vulnerable children that we have in these low-income schools? How do we ensure that there is inclusion for them so that they are not totally left behind? Because you mentioned earlier that some of the young girls in primary school, secondary school are already getting pregnant.
Yes.
You also mentioned that many of them have started to forget many of the things that they have learned in school. So how then do we begin to bridge this gap when we consider the issue of lack of data, when we consider the issue of lack of electricity for them to read? What are the little things? Because if we are looking for big things, it may almost be impossible, considering the current reality that we find ourselves.
Yes.
For illiterate parents who have to go out every day to find their daily bread and probably won't come home till late at night, how do they bridge this gap for their children? What are the little things we can do to ensure that the average Yomi and Toby can have access to learning?
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think one of the basic and affordable way children in low income that they can access them right now is through the use of, thankfully the governments are doing sponsored TV programs, education. It's just that it's just for maybe for a certain period of time. It's not that it's totally dedicated, to their studies. So that's another thing. And again, I also want to say that the use of radios, the use of the low-tech radio, I think is far, because I remember one of the children we actually interviewed during this lockdown was told me that whenever he asked the grandma that when are we going to school, the grandma said, you know what, I can't listen to what you're saying. I don't understand because of the literacy level, but you know what, the only thing I can tell you is just keep listening to the radio. The radio will always inform us that this is when the government would ease the lockdown and all that. So for radio, number one, I think radio is just the best way to access those children right now. And then for NGOs, CBOs that are actually currently working all around time, in this lockdown, I know some NGOs have been giving out learning materials, and then they've been giving out worksheets, just to be able to catch up with them at home. It's just that we just need to strengthen our advocacy voice so that everybody, we are all on the field in order to just catch up, because radio is fine, the worksheet there, and they have someone that monitors them, bar visitation once in a while, at least maybe once in a week, and also phone calls. I think that will also make the children to be able to say, okay, I remember on my way coming here, I met one of the children, one of our sponsored children, Dolly children. So I tried calling the auntie because an NGO in Lagos invited them for STEM in Africa that is coming on very soon. Okay. And then so the mom was not telling me that, she couldn't, that they've been praying that they get in contact with me because her phone was not ringing, that, they were just praying that, just to let you know that, there's been a form of disconnect, from the children too cannot wait, for everybody to be back and they can catch up with everything they've.
I think it's important that we do use radio because I think it's a leveler for parents or families that cannot afford to have a TV and all of that. I think radio would serve well. But again, I also know that states like Lagos State are doing well when it comes to providing the necessary content on radio. Yes. How about states that do not have access to this? What advice would you give to the parents of these children on effective ways that they can engage their children? And now in this case, parents might even be total illiterates. But again, they are illiterates that actually understand the importance of education. And many of our viewers are, they spread across Lagos State, they spread across Nigeria. We have access. What core information or advice will you give them when it comes to how they can engage their children in the midst of all these shortcomings that we are all experiencing across board? Okay, I think one of the ways we will always encourage parents in this season to engage their children is trying to encourage peer-to-peer reading, like the older ones teaching the younger ones, because I've seen it work well really good around the season. And then trying to also
I've seen parents that they are not as educated as their children, but they are so
Invested in, yeah.
So that makes the children, that puts the children in check, you know, to let them know that, oh, mommy will be on my neck if I don't finish this work that has been assigned to me. And they should also encourage a form of reward system.
True.
You know, once in a while, just to let them know, oh. So, and then, even though they are illiterate, they are not that educated, I feel there are some things that they know, like skills that they have that even the children, maybe because of the schooling time, have not really gotten to know about. So this is also a time to, you know, catch up with them, introduce them into their own world.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I totally agree on the skills area, because not every mother or father will be able to teach their children mathematics and English. But if there are handworks, handcraft, and even general home maintenance, these are things that they can learn. Okay, Dolakwa, we'll go on a quick break.
Okay.
I want us to quickly go on a quick break, and then we'll come back and dive into much more questions.
Okay.
Our viewers don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break on COVID-19. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the World Child Show, brought to you by Global Child Health and Safety Initiative. If you're just joining us, well, we have an important guest talking on the topic, positively engaging children while at home during the COVID-19 stay. Before the break, our guest, Ms. Dolakwa, was talking about some of the things that with parents, particularly parents that have to go out all the time to earn a living, she was basically sharing ideas on a few things that parents can do to positively engage their children. She had mentioned that skills learning is an important part of what parents can teach their children. It's also important that parents, as much as possible, encourage peer learning, where elder ones can teach their younger ones various skills at home. So we are going back to more questions for our guest today. Dolakwa, one of the key things that you mentioned at the beginning of the interview was the fact that some of the students and children that you interact with from your platform are already getting pregnant. And this brings me to an all-important issue that has continued to be a cause of concern for those of us that work in the social space. Just recently, the federal government declared a state of emergency on sexual abuse and of all forms, particularly among minors, where young children are incessantly raped, and it seems like nothing is being done. How do you reconcile this situation whereby parents are not mindful of their children at a time like this? Because we are tackling the issue of COVID-19 and we're now still tackling the issue of rape and violence. What are we doing wrong as parents? Why is the incessant rape of children still a challenge for us even in this time? I know the problem has always been there, but why is it so rampant now?
Yes, that's a very nice question that you asked. I remembered recently on another interview, we were talking about this, and when we were talking, what just came to my mind, and like every other people we've been able to talk about this, is that not that rape has not been an issue in Nigeria, but I think with this lockdown and with the fact that not all the aspects of different areas in the society in our public space is currently effectively working right now. There are still some facilities or businesses that are closed now. And I think because of that, and people are just compelled to stay back at home. And imagine someone that's been addicted secretly to maybe pornography, all those things, without maybe his immediate family getting to know about it. And because it's like something like very sweet to their, it's very sweet to their, it's something they're already addicted to, they will also want to practice. And we should not forget that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So that's why it's like the children that are vulnerable, like children from low income, even from children from every normal family, that maybe because they were just lapses, they are the one falling a victim. Because for parents, and I think when it comes to the issue of rape, most parents are always thinking, you know what, it can really not happen around me.
Exactly.
It's far. We're always hearing about it in the news and all that. Recently, I'm going to share one with you. I was talking with a very good family friend that I know of, and because around this COVID-19, we have, like in my area, we have places where people normally farm. So instead of us going to the market with this lockdown, you can just go into the farm and buy the. Yeah. So I saw this man. I know him. I got to know him through someone. And the other one, I've been seeing his face for. But because he has a nickname, I can't call it here. Because he has a nickname, so I'm like, something just triggered in my memory that this was the man that raped a 7-year-old last year. And parents are still sending their word to come and buy vegetables and come on the farm. Farm where everywhere is quiet. Even me as an adult, I'm just staying by the roadside and calling their names. Hello, hello. So I remember even telling somebody I know when he said, oh, you want to send the son to go and buy. I said, I don't even know the guy. I just got to know the real guy that did that. So I'm like, is it not the guy that they said that raped someone? I was like, well, my son is just a boy. I said, what are you telling me? Men they do that to also boys too.
Yes.
So I think parents should be, there's need for enlightenment. There's need for them to be aware that you can't just trust anybody. Even we've learned, even research has shown it that these predators are people that are very close to us, and they live around us. So I think that's why it's very very, very on the high rise. And then parents going out and they say, oh, I have to go and do my thing, and okay, please, can you just stay with this person without even knowing the person well? I also like pushing the children into the hands of predators.
Absolutely. One of the things that worry me is that people do not have access to information. Particularly now. So schools often serve as safe havens for some children that are exposed to abuse. Now schools are shut down.
Yes.
And a lot of children will be prone to abuse. So are there one or two key tips that parents, even at the most basic level, can understand, or you can share with parents so that they can actually use these tips to share with their children at home, and then monitor their children to ensure that they are safe at all times, even in their absence?
Yes.
What are some of these tips that you can share with parents?
Yes, I will say what I did with my daughter. I remember the first interview we both had, that you had with me.
Yeah.
And that made me go back online to research. And really, we have loads of information online. Even for children, 2 years old, 3-year-old, that they can easily read, it's been done in a comic book, like in form of cartoon. I remember that I introduced my daughter to read, to watch those cartoons, and I told her after watching it, okay, what did you learn? They spoke about bully. They spoke about not following strangers to, lonely places. They spoke about even when someone is touching you, when it's unsafe, when it's safe. So she was like, wow. And, this is something that I'm always saying at home, that if anybody touch you, but, I think the way I have been passing the message to her, she understood. But now reading it herself, she got a whole different perspective to it. So it was mind-blowing and an eye-opener for me that, wow, I need to really, so I've seen her even telling her peers once in a while, maybe they have one way or the other to talk, that, oh, this is bully, oh, nobody should touch you here, and all that. So those are the ways, and I think, I said it the other time, that this is a time for parents, they can show it in form of movie, cartoon.
Absolutely.
When they watch movie, oh, what's the moral of this lesson? And from there, they are able to say, okay, mommy have told me this. I remember when I was 14 years old, my mom gave me some books on teenage pregnancy and all that. She didn't even tell me, oh, she said I should go and read it. When I finished reading it, I should come and tell her what I've learned. So because I read it, I saw all the experiences of the girls, and I said, no, I don't want my life to be like this. That helped me to even be more resolved within myself to say, okay, these are the actions. That means it helped me to be able to set goals for myself that between this time, you know, if they don't, and then when you send children, they should not go alone. They should not go into lonely places.
Exactly, sending out children as young as 5-6 years to go get something, because this is the predators. These are exactly what they are looking out for. You know the thing about the show, Dola, but before you say the word Jack Robinson, we are almost out of time. So quick one for those parents that people that want to support Dolly Children's Foundation. How can they quickly support?
Yes, we have all our information on our social media pages, and we have our website as well. So in whatever way they can support, we have children currently right now, to be sincere, that they can't even afford the basic meal. So even though we are trying to provide solution that helps them to have access to education, we also try to ensure that they are also skilled in something so that they can actually focus on getting themselves more involved in learning.
Amazing work. I want to thank you for finding the time to come here despite the traffic and all of that. I also, on behalf of the Well Child Show, want to give you these copies of the Protect Her workbook. It's mostly for girls and young children. And the idea is that they read, just like you have said, read so much and learn so much from what they can physically connect with. Thank you, viewers, for being a part of this beautiful show. I want to call on our sponsors. As you can see, time flies. We have so much. I have a lot of questions for Dolapo, but unfortunately, we can't take all the questions. But I believe that Dolapo will be here sometime again to share more insights on her work and what she does. We're using this opportunity to call on sponsors. If we get sponsors to keep the show running, it means that we can stay for an hour 30 minutes or thereabout, so we can continue to give insightful feedback to parents who truly need this. Galaxy TV, you know, has a very wide coverage across Lagos, and people that really need to hear this information, they actually watch this TV show. So we are calling on sponsors. Please, as much as possible, support us, support the work that we do. And if you want to reach us, please call us on the number 080-8330-5051. Our handle on Instagram is at The World Child Show. Remember that child safety is everyone's business, and we must all put hands together to positively engage our children and to give them the very best protection and safeguard them as much as possible. Thank you, and see you next week. Bye for now.
Thinking about this work to actually start speaking to children. Then,
if there is a compromise,
hello and welcome to the Well Child Show.